Welcome back to another episode of My Quality is for Real. I'm your lovely host here, Queen My Quality. I have real talks with quality people who have real purpose. If you have not already, be sure to follow My Quality is for Real on both Instagram and Facebook. Today, I have a very lovely guest for you all today, Miss Rah Kalon. I had the pleasure of meeting her on the set of Kismet, a web series that I had the honor of being a part of. And she's doing a lot of amazing things. And I just wanted to, you know, talk to her and build with her and share, her greatness with you all. So again, if you have not already, be sure to like and subscribe to Queen My Quality on YouTube. I have Think About It Thursdays. I'm also going to start doing My Quality in the City and Did You Knows. So I'm gonna, I've been working. If you notice, I'm doing things a little different now. I'm on Zoom. I'm back on Anchor. You can pretty much find the podcast anywhere where you can, find podcasts. So yeah, check me out. Again, I appreciate all the love and the support, all the feedback, just everything. It's been a blessing. Hope you all are, using your time wisely, if you will, and, just everything is going well for everybody. A lot is going on here. All right, so she is coming in. Here we go. Give it 1 second. Hello there.
How's it going?
It's going. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Yourself?
I'm good on this Sunday. It's a little gloomy here, but I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday to let me interview you and get all in your business, ask you questions and stuff. I appreciate it.
I'm excited.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I had a little intro before you came on. So again, y'all, this is Miss Rah Kalon. Is that that's how you pronounce it?
That is how I
Yeah.
pronounce it.
So yeah, we had the opportunity of meeting on the set of Kismet. Shouts out to Miss Cicely Rue on the set of Kismet, the web series. We had a lot of fun, and since then, I've been following your journey. And you also had both had a podcast back at KMWI Media.
Yes.
That's where I started, and we've both been blossoming and just growing. And I've been following your movement, and I'm inspired. You are really inspiring, and you're beautiful. Your whole energy is just beautiful. So I'm gonna give you a little brief intro, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. She's the host of the More Than Tribe. You have a lot of stuff going on, just a lot of just a beautiful soul. So again, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and tell the people who you are, a little bit about yourself.
For sure. So I am Rah Kalon. I am a self-love activist, life coach, spiritual storyteller, the host of a podcast called Energy and Motion. But most importantly, I am the host of a weekly meetup group called the More Than Tribe, where we transfer from being just human beings to being healing beings because it's hard out here. It's hard out here. So I have a background and a master's in clinical counseling. I have a heart for people. I love people, and I like to help them remember how to love and validate themselves.
So tell me, how did you get into that? Have you always been what you say a self-love coach? Have you always had this type of energy, or what happened to make you become who you are today, if you will? How did you get into that?
Well, I would say it's always been in me. And I think most of us who have that caring soul, who have this heart for others, we can remember it way back from childhood of just always wanting people to feel safe in your space. It might have come from a lot of experience of not feeling safe in other people's spaces and really valuing what it was like when someone made it an intentional purpose for me to be comfortable with them. I grew up with a whole lot of love. It didn't mean that tragedy didn't happen. It didn't mean that sexual abuse, because 1 in 4 women didn't happen. I am one of those 1 in 4 women, but I still grew up with a lot of love. And I think being able to have been brought up with confidence, with self-esteem, with love, it was able to help me to see through the shadows that started to form as puberty hit, as life happened. And so as I grew up, I realized I had a knack for making people feel comfortable because I knew how uncomfortable it was to feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really wasn't until I got to this stage in my life where I started coaching over the past couple of years that I don't really want to make people feel comfortable. That's
Mm-hmm.
not my purpose. My purpose is to help them to tolerate the discomfort so they can see the blessing and the beauty in what they are learning through that change.
And so is that why you got into the clinical counseling? And so are you in education, like you're in school, counseling students, or what exactly?
None of that. No, I
Okay.
just stick to life coaching. So I got my master's in clinical counseling, but to be frank, counseling wasn't for me. The counseling profession is beautiful, and there are specific people who are built to be counselors. But the way that I work with people is a little too intimate, and it wouldn't be honestly appropriate for how counselors are supposed to conduct themselves. But I needed to go through grad school. I needed to finish and get the master's for me to fully understand that. So it was about halfway through the program that I realized, like, I might not be suited to be a counselor, but I am suited to help people in a helping professional way. But once I got the master's, I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
You're just gonna do it your own way.
Do it
And
my own way.
you have been doing it beautiful. So can we talk a little about energy and motion?
Yes. Yes.
Are you still with KMWI? Are you doing it solo?
So me and KNWI parted amicably, I would say in September of last year.
Okay.
So everything that's happened with Energy and Motion since then has been home produced. I would say that the second season is my favorite season because of all the different things that I had to learn on my own of editing. Like all of this is homegrown. So editing the audio myself, having my girlfriend edit the video and the clips for me, starting to add ad-lib scenes, like splicing in conversations and giving more insight and feedback, and doing research to listen to other podcasts to find out what styles work well for other people and what styles would I like to try on. So Energy and Motion as a podcast, just like you, I got my start at KMWI. And it was a great opportunity because Energy and Motion as a podcast is all about you feel what you feel. But you always deserve to heal. And it was a place to have conversations over how our emotions are just energy in motion. So let's talk about where they've been taking you. So we talk about embarrassment, and we would talk about rejection, and we would talk about feeling stagnant and all the things that people will sit with themselves and think like, oh, it's just me, and need to realize it's not just you. And so we made it a lot more commonplace on that show. And to be honest, Energy and Motion has slowed down, especially since the pandemic hit, because I really enjoyed meeting with people in person. Part of the energy of Energy and Motion was meeting with people in person. And when I was transparent with myself, I didn't have the same energy for it if it was always going to be through a Zoom call. But surprisingly, that's how the More Than Tribe itself was born. Because I realized if I was doing the podcast, oftentimes I would put it out there and I'd be very excited for people to share their feedback. But I have very little patience. I want to hear the feedback right away. So the More Than Tribe is basically Energy and Motion, except like in front of a live audience where we can actually have conversation and discuss, like, how are you feeling about shame? What are you trying to work through your shadows about regarding shame? Let's talk about the topic of domestication and fragmentation. Let's talk about death and grieving processes. And those are things that, while I definitely would have covered them on Energy and Motion, and some of those topics were covered on Energy and Motion, there are 39 episodes of Energy and Motion. But it's a whole different ballgame when you're talking to people and crying with people and hearing other people validate each other's experiences. So that's how Energy and Motion has blossomed into the More Than Tribe.
Well, that's beautiful. And like you said, just to piggyback off of what you said about us feeling sometimes that we're the only one. I know myself, it wasn't until I guess the last couple of years where I started to, recognize or start to identify with my emotions and the shame and, the grief and the pain and, just all of those things is really important. And I think that you have a really good niche for that. You have a really good niche for just talking to people. Your voice is soothing. I think I told you the first time I met you, I was like, wow, her voice is really soothing. You have a really, really, really good voice, and your energy again is beautiful. It's beautiful. You have a lot of, I see that you're posting a lot about just different what word am I trying to, what word? I'm sorry, my mind just went somewhere else. Just different events and different type of things. So you really, this pandemic, you've really like transitioned and gotten used to doing the Zoom. And, how has that been for you? How has just been in this pandemic and the whole 2020, how has that been for you?
If I'm real with you, 2020 has been everything I needed it to be.
Hmm.
2020 turned lives upside down. 2020 made things slow down in a way that I think people never gave themselves, people including me,
Hmm.
never gave themselves permission to slow it down. We always thought, well, the rest of the world is going 1,000 miles per second, so I need to be going pretty quick too. And when things slowed down back in March, I was like, okay, well, this won't last that long. And then we had a month to sit in it. And I was like, so this might be the new norm. And it was uncomfortable because of how quiet it was. But
Hmm.
it gave me time to see, one, my world is my world. It's not that I am not connected to, not a beautiful part of the whole world, but my world is my world. And what I shift in my world will directly impact the change I can make in other people's worlds. And so giving myself permission to not have to do for a long time, for at least a month or two, I didn't do anything. And sitting with that and facing the beliefs that we all have about, oh, you're lazy. Oh, well, someone so and so just started their own business in this time frame and you're doing nothing. What are you doing nothing for? And it's like, because I goddamn can. Because I
Hmm.
can't do nothing. And because that doesn't take away my value, because that doesn't take away my worth, because for the first time in my adult life, I have time to do nothing. I'm not going to shame myself for this.
Hmm.
And in that space is where all of this creativity, the idea to even host weekly groups came from, because I realized I couldn't be the only one feeling like that. It's not the human experience to ever feel something that other humans aren't feeling. That's just not it. And so being able to get the opportunity to start hosting monthly girl talks for the Melanin Manifestival via Zoom, that built my confidence up in speaking in front of 50 or 60 women on a Zoom call, when before it was just my typical 9 to 5 meetings of like 10 of us on there.
Hmm.
And so now it blossomed into workshops. I participated in the Night of the Soul soiree meditation workshop 2 weeks ago. And so more partnerships. And I don't think that it wouldn't have happened without the pandemic, but I think it wouldn't have happened as authentically. And I think I would not have been as kind to myself in the growing of this business as I have been, because I learned early on in the pandemic, it's you and you, boo. Like, what you gonna do with you?
Yeah, that is one thing that I believe that I took from this pandemic is just learning to be alone. And that's when you find out there's some stuff I don't really like about myself. I didn't really realize that, I do that, or I feel this way. And so yes, you are right. There is a lot of ugly things have happened, but a lot of beautiful things. It just depends on how you look at it. And like you said about the show, I'm now doing my show independently, just learning to edit the videos and really look at this like a business, and when I first started, I didn't have that mind frame. I just really just wanted to talk to people, and it was more people that I knew, so I felt comfortable with it. And even like reaching out to you or to other people, that's me, that's something new for me, because I'm one of those people where I'll watch you from afar and oh, she ain't gonna want to come on my show. I'm not even gonna reach out to her. And so this year has really built my confidence, if you will.
Right?
And yeah, so it just depends on how you look at it. It's a lot of beautiful things, and I'm really looking forward to next year. I'm
I
really
am.
looking forward to next year and seeing where this is going to go, and where we're not going back to, I guess, normal, if you will. It's a new normal.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. And I think we've been hungry for a new normal for a long time. We just didn't know how to give it to ourselves.
Exactly, exactly. So talk a little bit about the workshops that you have going on, and I know they came about organically, but what exactly is it? Kind of still the same, if you will, with the energy, and all of it ties together, pretty much.
All of it does. I'm a simple being. I'm simple and complex all at the same time, as each and every one of us are.
Hmm.
So, what I care about is self awareness. I care about people being able to objectively look at themselves and the things that they've experienced and be able to connect the dots as to, oh, so that's how I turned out like this. Not so that I can bully myself, not so I can shame myself, but so that I can understand and then give myself an opportunity at a fresh start. And so energy and motion was just me getting my feet on the ground about, like, how do I have these conversations with people? I have them normally in day-to-day conversations at the grocery store. I'm getting my oil change. People end up talking to me for 45 minutes and not knowing why, but knowing they felt better after doing it.
Hmm.
But then we moved into energy and motion, and it was like, okay, so this is a structured way of doing it. Then fast forward to the pandemic and getting the opportunity to do workshops like for the Melanin Manifestival. The first workshop I did for them was my self-sabotaging brain, and talking about how the brain ain't our friend and how the brain likes to lie like all the time in order to stay in control, and how that also is reflected on our control issues and the false sense of security we carry around with us, thinking that if we tell somebody to do something that they should do it that way and that automatically it would work out for them the way it worked out for us, or trying to be constantly suppressing our feelings so that we don't seem weak, when really that's going to anchor us down to being stuck in those feelings or unable to process those feelings later on. So we talked about self-sabotaging behavior, and there were about 42 women on that call, and everyone was just so excited to be able to say the terrible things that they think, the terrible things they do to themselves in their head, the way they belittle themselves. So that was the first workshop, and that lit a fire in me. I was like, so y'all really want this, huh? Like, I really want to talk about it, but you really want to talk about it too, and that's special. And so the next month we came back and we talked about all different types of things. We've talked about in the Melanin Manifestival, because we do a monthly workshop. Self-sabotaging brain. We've talked about intimacy. We've talked about sexuality. We've talked about unapologetic communication. Something that made all the difference in my life over the past years, practicing radical honesty, which is not brutal honesty, because brutal honesty is I'm trying to hurt you with what I'm telling you because I want you to leave me alone. It's usually a defense mechanism. But radical honesty is I'm going to say this with as much compassion as I have, because I know this is going to be vulnerable for me and uncomfortable for you, but I have to say this so that you know where I stand and I know where you stand. And so that has meant some friendships have shifted because, you know, people who in my friendships I didn't necessarily feel were feeding me, but more so were feeding off of me. I had to let them know that that's what it felt like, you know? And so anything that I was learning that was working in my life, I would come into these workshops and I would talk to other people about it and tell them, like, this is my experience. This isn't everyone's experience. Try it out for yourself. Give me feedback. But most of the time, if it's uncomfortable, it's still worth doing so that you can have the experience of seeing like you lived on the other side of it. So those are the workshops for the most part that we've done for Melanin Manifestival so far. And you might notice I often say we, like we did this for energy and emotion, we did that. I very much see the way that source, spirit, the universe, the creator, whoever you'd like to address it, works with me, because I ain't doing this on my own, bro. Like the way that it is out here, I couldn't. My limited human perspective just can't see all the nooks and crannies that there might be opportunities in. So when I say we move from energy and emotion to the More Than Tribe, it's definitely a cohesive experience for me and with me, and just building my faith up. I'm not a religious person, but I sure do love me some God, and I sure do love spirituality and what it's offered me. And I love being able to talk to people and encourage them and love them without it having to be a religious thing, without me having to impose my views or my comforts, but helping them to seek themselves out so that they aren't ever looking for the external validation when they can get it from themselves.
Yeah, that. Oh, you said a mouthful.
I be talking, girl. Just cut me off when you need to.
No, that's why I wanted you on here. I wanted that. But speaking of the melanin, the festival, I got tickets for that at the beginning of this year, and that was my first time. You know, I wanted to go, and then all of this happened, and I didn't get a chance to go, and I have not. I get the emails about the workshop and stuff, but I'm gonna have to, and that's a part of me, I guess, just being, I guess, scared, if you will, because I'm working on that, the transparency, and going into these groups and just opening up, and like I listen to you talk, but I still don't have that in me to share with what I'm going through, because again, we feel like, oh, we're the only ones and they're not going to understand. Nobody has ever dealt with this before, and so I think that's beautiful. And us as women, we definitely need that. And it's beautiful to have a sisterhood, and, to be able to sit around other women with no judgment. Because a lot of times we judge, we do.
Yeah, but don't you know, as we all are learning in adulthood, when people are judging us, it's just because of something we pinged in them. Something that either they experienced that they already thought, like, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't have done it like that. Or they already were in that situation and they made their own mistakes. So it's easier to look at what I'm doing and tell me how I'm messing up than to acknowledge where you messed up. And that's why I don't take anything anyone might think of me personally, because people don't know me, you know, unless they've sat with me. And that's also what's humbled me in my experiences being a woman and being judgy. I'm like, I don't know them. I know what I think I'm seeing. I
Mm-hmm.
know in this small moment, but I don't know the context. I don't know the history. I don't know the experiences. So it helps me give a lot of grace to people and to receive grace from myself.
And that's important because a lot of times we may give grace to other people, but I like what you said about giving grace to yourself.
Yeah.
We are really hard on ourselves. Again, I'm speaking for me. I'm really hard on myself. And wow, that the way that you put that, that's true. We a lot of times we are so easy to deal with other people and accept their flaws, but we can't accept our own, and we just do
No.
ourselves so bad.
We do. And I think that's why talking about self-sabotaging behavior can be so liberating, just because, yeah, we think like if anyone thought that or knew that I thought this about myself, they think that I just am a terrible person. It's like, no, they would think I thought that about myself 2 days ago. Most of us would think that. Like I made the joke over, sometimes I'm in the mirror and I'm like, oh girl, you bad. You so fine. And other times I walk past the mirror and I'm like, girl, you built like the Grinch. Who is ever gonna love you? Who's ever gonna love you? But that's okay. It's okay for me to have both of those experiences. And it's also okay for other people to admit they have too. And it's okay for them not to, but not to hide it from themselves. Like maybe you don't tell the world that you feel like that. Maybe that's not your brand of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no reason to lie to yourself.
No, because you have to sleep with that. You have to deal with that. And that's the hardest,
It
to walk
is.
around lying to yourself. You really, and honestly, you really can't lie to yourself. If you think about it, you can try, but you can't really lie to yourself because you sit with that and you deal with that, and you're gonna, so
Yeah.
that's amazing. The self-sabotaging. The next time, when is the next workshop?
So the next workshop, we realized because usually it happens the third Wednesday of every month, that's kind of knocking on Thanksgiving time. So we're
Okay.
going to do it in December. The last one we did in October over sexuality, we actually did in person and we streamed it live on Instagram Live. So I'm imagining we'll do something similar in December. We'll do a small in-person gathering for those who just really want to come check it out in person, but we'll stream it live probably the third Wednesday of December.
And
I don't know
sexuality,
what date that is, but third Wednesday.
that's another important thing that a lot of people struggle with, their sexuality. Not wanting to, admit certain things, or not, just wanting to, yeah, just hide it. But we definitely have to just be confident and walk in it.
Yes, yes. And once again, it's so ironic that things that affect everyone are the hardest to talk about. If you're not having sex, you're thinking about sex. And if you're not thinking about sex, you might notice your peers are. We can't ignore the fact that asexuality is a thing. There are some people who just don't give a damn about sex and intimacy in that way. But they still want connection, right? And so talking about sex, we talked about sex, sensuality, and self-expression, and how there's masculine energy that women who present very feminine actually are exuding, and how there's feminine energy that some men are exuding, and how that makes some of us feel, some people feel uncomfortable with that, some people really vibe with that, and how there's really no wrong way to be. People just, based off of our upbringings, we are so conditioned that based off what other people were comfortable with, that's how we decide what we can and can't do. And that's what I think makes sex liberating, when you find a partner or partners who you can do what you want with. Because so long you were told, oh, that's nasty. No, don't do that. No one's going to like that. But if you actually have conversations with people, especially in an intimate relationship, and can say, this is something I'd really enjoy. Can I try this with you? That's just hot. But people are too vulnerable and too shy. And I'm like, if you are comfortable enough to bust it wide open, you should be comfortable enough to have a conversation. I'm just saying.
That is true. That is absolutely true. Yeah. I'm one of those people. Again, I really, in the last couple of years, I just turned 30. So I would say from 28 to now, I have just really just been growing.
Mm-hmm.
Been growing in different ways. And even when it comes to sexuality, or just being transparent, or, like you mentioned earlier about just understanding why certain things took place when we were younger, or why do I do this? Oh, that's why I do that. for myself, I've never been sexually abused, but I did grow up in a very, very, very strict Baptist Christian household where everything was taboo. Whether it was, everything, sex was taboo, anything in the world, if you will, was taboo. And so as a grown woman now, it's still kind of, taboo for me. I'm still like, but I'm more, I don't know why I'm so tongue tied, but I'm more open, if you will.
Yeah.
If you will.
I think we have to realize that even though the people who raised us might not have been a fan of these things, it might be because of either they had no awareness of it, they had no experience with it. So when they encountered it, it was foreign. And anything that we don't know is terrifying, just as human beings, as people. If I don't know it and I don't understand it off bat, then I want to get away from it. I want to tell my kids never to look at it, to get away from it. But I think we have to grow into our own experiences and then see, like, okay, so I saw this, and I know my parents would hate if they knew that I saw this. But nothing bad is happening. Hold on now. I kind of like that. Oh, what you doing with your leg there? And you get to have a moment where it's like, so this was just a preference. And I can't knock my parents for not enjoying this preference, but I don't have to shame myself for enjoying this preference.
Absolutely, absolutely. What is one thing, if you could tell your 20-year-old self now, with all of this knowledge and this wisdom that you have, what is one thing that you would go back and tell your 20-year-old self?
I would go back and tell her that she doesn't have to hold on so tightly to the things that she cares about, because those things don't have to be possessed to be valued. Those things can be loved loosely. They don't have to be loved with such a tight fist. You can have an open palm to them. Because I think 20-year-old me was just really afraid, because she had a lot of good things, but she was afraid of those good things going somewhere. And all those good things that she was so afraid of going somewhere mostly did. She had a great relationship. She thought she was going to marry that person. It ended. She had and has always had a beautiful relationship with her mother. Her mother passed away soon after. So all these things that she just so desperately wanted to make sure stayed safe, that was a part of that false sense of security, and not accepting and understanding the beauty of impermanence, that nothing is constant but change, and that I will be changing too. So even if right now losing those things seems overwhelming at 20, I will develop into that 21, 22, 24-year-old woman who can handle all the changes that are coming. So that's what I would go back and tell her.
I think I need to tell my 30-year-old self that when it comes to holding on to things, like even especially relationships, as far as me, I'm not so much like there were friendships, but relationships, I tend to have this type of, possessiveness, if you will, like, that's mine and we together. And again, over the last couple of years, I'm starting to realize that that's not realistic. That's not realistic. And you have to love yourself enough to, be confident enough in yourself to say, well, I know who I am. And if they don't recognize who I am, and if they want to go, or if they want to do this or do that, then that's their loss.
Yeah, but that's such a brave thing to say and do. And we all know we're not raised like that. If we were raised in a 2-parent household and we were fortunate enough to have healthy parents, then it's like, no, I saw partnership. So I need partnership. And when I find a good one, I'd be damned if I let it go. Even if there are things that don't exactly blend well, I saw my parents compromise. So I'm going to start doing those compromising things. But I think a lot of times as younger people, like in our early 30s and 20s, we don't realize, like, you saw them compromising in the marriage. All this compromising we doing before we get married what is this? Why are we already saying and settling, and we haven't even gotten married? There's nothing even secure yet, but we've already decided, like, no, this is good enough. And we don't give ourselves a chance to feel all of what we deserve to feel. And I'm not saying that there's only one person out there for everybody. I don't believe that. It was actually my mom that taught me. She was like, I think there's about 6 or 7 people in the world that if you met them, you would live a really sweet life together. And one of those marriages, maybe one of them passes early, and then you meet the third person you could have a really great life with. And it won't be the same relationship. Each one will be different, but we can't sit here and act like only one person could ever make us happy. And if there is only one person, that one person would have to be ourselves. And people spend so much time running from themselves that when you get into a relationship, you put the responsibility, things that you should have checked in on yourself about long time ago, on this new person.
Mhm.
And you haven't even sifted through to know if what I'm putting on you to work with me on is up to date, if I still have those beliefs. You're just like, hey, this is me, take it. And I think we have to sit with who we are and take it for ourselves before we start dishing it out to somebody else and asking them to stay forever.
And that to piggyback again, that's one thing that this pandemic has kind of forced us to do, if you will. That quarantine, it kind of forced us to sit with ourselves and to learn yourself, and again, what you like and what you don't like about yourself, those things that you never really set with. When the pandemic first happened, I just remember just having this feeling of like, okay, I don't have anything to do. But then it turned into, damn, I want to do something. I want to do something. And then, well, let me get creative. All of the things that we took for granted. Well, I'm not doing this because I have to work every day. Well, now you don't have to work. So now what is your excuse?
Yeah, I feel as though that's what I went through at first as well. I was anxious. I was like, well, now my life should be taking off because work's out of the way. I'm working remotely now. But if we realize that before the pandemic, we didn't really have the time to sit with ourselves to figure out what we really wanted to do, we were just always spinning our gears. Why would we all of a sudden, just because we have some weeks to ourselves, just know what to do?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the whole adulthood lie. That's why I tell students, like, don't grow up. It's a lie. It's a lie. It ain't fun. Grow up, they said. It'll be fun, they said. It wasn't. It wasn't. But it's that we have to have all the answers in order to move forward. And sometimes you have to just become comfortable sitting with yourself and not having any answers, accepting the unknown is what's presented to you, and that life has a way of taking care of life. And just because you're a human being, just because you work this job, it doesn't set you outside of life. And life will still take care of you, even if you're not doing all the things you think it's necessary. Because if we're real with ourselves, there's probably some stuff that we need to be doing that we don't even know. We don't even know about right now. There are things that we would tell ourselves in 10 years, you need to be investing in this, you need to be looking at that. But right now, we don't even know. And life is still taking care of us, even though we don't know. And so because of that, it helps me remind people of, you don't have to have all the answers to move forward. And sometimes you just have to be willing to sit in your own presence and figure out, what exactly are you asking for? What needs attention? What part of you is aching? What part of you, like, what makes it so hard to sit with yourself? Let's talk about that, because, when you first had the opportunity, you get bored or anxious. There's always something else you should be doing. And we've been raised and culturally groomed that we put ourselves on the back burner, not just as women, as people, but especially as women, that our needs come last. And that is the quickest thing I try to change for clients who work with me one-on-one, or people who join the More Than Tribe, of your needs come first. And that is the only way you'll be able to be the best provider for your family and for your community, is if you are pouring from a full cup, not an empty cup.
I think I'm gonna have to join the More Than Tribe.
We're ready for you, girl.
That's definitely something that I need. To be around other people, to again listen to them, but also be able to say the words out of my mouth and express it, these things that I think. And I'm a person that journals, like I write everything down. But as far as expressing it, yeah. Not quite there yet, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, you're interested in it. Some people wouldn't even entertain the conversation of being that vulnerable, but you're at least intrigued by it, and that's growth in and of itself.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, again, I appreciate you. Let the people know where they can find you, where they can find, all of your things that you have going on.
Absolutely. So you can find me at Rah Kalon, that's RAHKALON, on Instagram. You can also find me at rahkalon.com. That's my website. The things that you can be expecting coming up is the More Than Tribe is every Tuesday at 7 o'clock Central Time till about 8:30. It's a $27 a month subscription, not $27 a week, but a month. So that gets you every Tuesday, as well as being able to check in on Thursdays for Ask Me Anything Thursday. You'll also be able to find me at the Melanin Manifestable's Girl Talk in December, the third Wednesday of December. And there will be a couple of other meditation experiences that if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and you are looking for that type of community, I highly recommend you reach out and come out. So please don't be a stranger.
Absolutely. I didn't get a chance. I wanted to ask you too about acting. So we kind of talked about how we met on the set of Kismet. Was that your first project? Oh, because you seem like you a seasoned actor.
Ah,
How,
you know, I love acting, and I went to Booker T. Washington, the Performing and Visual Arts School, and so I majored in theater, but I majored mainly in playwriting. I always have loved writing, so I'm right there with you with the journaling and the writing down of thoughts. But it's something about being able to bring other characters to life. So Kismet was my first web series. I had done one commercial, and everything else had been plays. Earlier that year, when we were doing Kismet, I was doing the vagina monologues. I also did for Colored Girls. And it's very difficult. I'm coming into my own more and no longer just tolerating being typecasted as like the fun auntie, because that's always what I'm the auntie. I'm auntie vibes. Luckily, they don't try to put me in grandma vibes anymore. But really, Kismet was the first opportunity for me to play a fuckboy, and I really enjoyed being able to be like that person and seen in a different way. So I'm excited for whenever Kismet makes its brand debut. I'm excited for it to do so.
Absolutely. That was my first time ever doing anything like that. I've been in plays, but it's more so like in church. Like, I was married. I was the signature Mary for a couple of years.
Come
The
on,
Christmas
yes,
play.
yes, I
But
feel it.
that's about all that I've done. So that was really a great experience for me. Just to be able to be on the set and to see, everything. And Cicely, she did her thing, and she's still doing her thing. So yes, I'm very excited and ready for Kismet to make his debut, and I'm ready to get back out there as well. That was one of those things again where it's something I always wanted to do, and I just was just let me just go for it. Like I said, from 20, I think. From me turning 28, it was just like every year, it was like, I'm going to do something that I've always wanted to do, and I never seen myself doing it. Even doing this podcast and talking to people and having a show, I never thought that it was actually possible, even though you see other people doing it. But again, in my household, it's a hobby, if you will. Nobody ever really, you should get a job, get in the medical field, stay in
Something
the medical
secure.
field. Yeah, something secure. And so that was really fun for me. Have you since then, have you been in anything else, or do you have anything coming up as far as acting?
No, I went and auditioned, and I think Kismet was exactly that. I think it was a Kismet experience, just because that was a good year of acting for me. And then since then, I hadn't gotten casted in things. I went and auditioned for a couple of things at the Jubilee Theater in Fort Worth, and I just wasn't the part for it. And surprisingly, I wasn't too broke up about that, because the way that the universe works, that was the same time that someone asked me to start putting together workshops at the For the Culture Studios. So if I had gotten auditions or gotten casted, then I wouldn't have been making money. And so I'm not mad at having made money instead. So.
Yes, I think the way that she put Kismet together, and the way that we had to shoot the scenes and everything. I interviewed Rashad before, and I
Yes.
interviewed Eileen, and we all said that, like, I think that it was perfect the way it was, because you were forced to kind of network and connect with people that you probably wouldn't have connected with before. And a lot of just, how can you be in a room full of talented people and not feel inspired, or not connect with somebody? And so I that was the best experience for me.
We need to have a reunion. I know and I'm sure we will when we have the watch party, but I do miss the vibe of it.
Yes, every time it was just fun. And even though we were working, it didn't feel like work. It
No,
really didn't feel like work.
no, not until the end of the day came, and I was like, "Is it time yet?" Because we've been here for hours. Then it was work, but it was still fun work
Yes, I didn't realize that you'd be on the set all day, like
all day.
all day for 10 minutes, for
For
5
10
minutes, for 5 minutes.
That's exactly right.
It was like a 12-hour thing. And so, but yeah, I really had fun. I really had fun. I look forward to seeing, and your part in the I'm not gonna give a spoiler. Y'all definitely have to watch it. But you did a hell of a good job playing it.
Thank you.
You did a hell of a good job playing that role. And that is something that, yeah, I do see you as the fun auntie. I don't really see you as a fuck boy or fuck girl, but you laid that. You did
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, and that's the fun of it, because I do have a niece and nephew, so I am the fun auntie. but I've been being typecasted as that long before my niece and nephew were ever born. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
fun to play something different.
That's good. That's good. Well, I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your Sunday to, to let me get out in your business and ask you questions. Again, I have real talks with quality people who have real purpose, and I reach out to people that I'm inspired by. And I just want to have a conversation with you, and I guess I'll share it with everybody else. But it's really for me, you know what I mean?
I love it.
It's people that I'm inspired by or that I see or that I want to, just share it and just give you your flowers while you're still here, if you will. So
Yeah.
you're doing amazing, and you're doing the work, if you will. You're doing the work, and I appreciate it, just to be able to see it, it inspires me. So, and I don't take it for granted, again, for you taking time out of your Sunday, even though it is Zoom. I'm like you, I kind of like it more in person.
Of course.
I like it more in person, but the Zoom, it's a new way of life, I guess. You get to be in the comfort of your own home. So,
Yeah. It makes it available, and you being in New York now, it gives us the opportunity to still have this conversation. So there's a beautiful benefit to it. It just doesn't replace human in-person connection.
yeah, nothing like it, nothing like it. What do you have planned for the rest of your Sunday?
The rest of my Sunday, so I got a great opportunity to help work on the curriculum of a group called Safe Conversation. So I'm going to review our contract, because as a young Black person, now that I have like contracts coming in, I want to be very vigilant over looking at the fine print and making sure I understand and I'm educated on what am I signing and what does this
Mhm.
give me rights to. And then after that, I might be going to somebody's grandma's home cooked Sunday dinner. It's been a long time since I've had grandmama's cooking. I don't got grandparents anymore, so I'm kind of excited about that.
That is good. That is good. We might have to have you come back and talk about that, the contracts. I'm not there in my walk yet. But a lot of people, we don't know about that. We, especially coming from nothing, if you will, or not being able to ever having anything like that. You just sign anything. You don't know what you sign, and you're so excited about the
Mhm.
opportunity that you'll sign
Yeah.
anything. So
Hmm.
we might have to have another conversation about that and talk about that.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Because once you learn something, it's best to pass it on so that other people can have the wisdom. And I'm terrified about it right now because it's all so new, and I don't know anybody myself who's been through it. But that's why you got to take a deep breath, sit with it, and just Google any word you don't understand.
Right. And you're going through it so that way you can help other people, and you go first, and then
Yeah,
you bring it back to us.
bring it back. I'll bring it back. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Well, good. Well, again, thank you so much. Tell the people one more time where they can find you, just in case they just, you know how people is. They may have, but tell them one more time where they can find you. And I'm gonna also put it in the video. I'm gonna edit the video, because I know how to edit videos now. So I'm gonna edit the video, and I'm gonna send it to you, and I'm gonna have all of it at the front of it. But you can let them know where they can find you.
So the best places to find me will be on Instagram at Rah Kalon, RAHKALON. You can also find me at rahkalon.com. That's my website. Or you can email me at rahkalon@gmail.com. You can be a part of the More Than Tribe, which is the weekly Tuesday evening group that I host from 7 to 8:30. It's a $27 a month subscription. You can ask me any questions about that, or sign up via Instagram, or go to the website and it'll send me an email. If you are interested in having personalized meditations, guided affirmations, if you can tell, my voice is something I like to make my bread and butter off of. So let me use my voice for you. And you can also be prepared to see me in December. We'll be streaming live for the Melanin Manifest School's Girl Talk. It's a monthly workshop we do. We're taking November off because of Thanksgiving, but the third Wednesday in December, we will be back getting ready for 2021, and you do not want to get ready by yourself. Get ready with us.
Well, I will be there. I'm definitely going to make that a priority, and I'm going to be there, because that really is something that I need. I need that tribe, if you will, that sisterhood, or that that those people. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, again, thank you so much. You enjoy your Sunday. We're about to wrap it up. Hopefully, this won't be the last time that we connect. I'm gonna have you come back on and we connect, and I'll see you at the More Than Tribe, and I'll be sharing my stories. And
Please.
being transparent and vulnerable. So
I'm
yeah,
here. Well, thank you for having me. It has been a fun conversation. I appreciate you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. You have a good Sunday, and I will talk to you later.
You do the same. Talk later.
Peace.